What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Timeless Steel. Guess who's back? EcoBoost DeLorean. Some of you guys have been asking, I want more EcoBoost content. Well, here we are. Going on a road trip about 4 hours from here in Kentucky in a month. I'm waiting on parts for that one, so now I'm going to start working on mine until I get the parts to finish that. And there's a few things that we got to iron out with this girl. Really, it's just, you know, after doing some shake and bake miles, some things that I want to change, upgrade, fix after, you know, basically an entire frame off and a complete drivetrain swap. It's a one-off car. I've got a list here, and asterisk items are kind of things I really want to get done, but first thing we're going to do is the clutch. This thing kills my leg in like 30 minutes. It's just not fun to drive in traffic. The factory master is like a 0.81. I'm going to drop down to a low 7, 0.71 or something off to get the parts out here. So that'll make it a little bit more drivable. Currently the throttle sticks out like 6 inches, and it's just my 6-foot tall frame puts my knee into the center console, and I need to fix that. So we're going to adjust the throttle. I really got the throttle bolted in the car just to get it to the dyno, and then my brake lights aren't working, and I'm fairly certain it's just the switch at the pedal is mashed down. So these 3 things are the have to get done items. Everything else is if I have time. My front air dam's missing some hardware. I'd like to change the spark plugs just from doing all the dyno pulls on it. I got oil change here, but I just remembered that I changed the oil like a month ago, and it's just been sitting in the garage. So I'll probably change the oil after this road trip. I'd like to put my interior back together. I've sold a few of my control arm kits now, and I've went with some SPC recommendations against factory alignment. The DeLorean's aligned for low speed maneuverability because there's no power steering, which makes it really darty at speed on the highway. It's got a lot of tow, and it's just a lot of caster. So I'm gonna go, SPC wants me to go -1 on the camber, take out some tow, and then got Graham's already done a caster adjustment that he likes, so I'm gonna try his settings on that. Just because I have a fully adjustable suspension now, I might as well take advantage of it. I'd like to put a battery kill switch in the interior that I can reach in case the old girl starts on fire. I've got a nice fire extinguisher my buddy Carl bought me as a gift, and I need to mount that. My rear sway bar hardware is chattering a little bit, so I think it needs to be torqued. My passenger door alignment's a little off. I mean, when you lift the body off these cars and drop them back on, your doors are gonna need adjustment. And then my buddy Rich yelled at me like a year ago about my hood latch cable, and I still haven't fixed it. So that's my list. Probably only get these 3 things done. Maybe I'll put the interior in it before, but that's my priority, getting that car done for a very nice couple from Kentucky. And then when I'm not working on that one, I'm gonna start working on this one. So join me, let's get started on the clutch. That's the most important thing. Well, you can see they put it in a convenient place on the DeLorean. So you can see this is what came out. I got this unit from DPI back in, I don't know, 2015 or so. It's a 0.81 bore, and that was a good replacement for a stock DeLorean Clutch Master. My buddy Nick told me about this one. This is what most of the LS swap DeLoreans are running. This is a 0.70 bore, so we're dropping down. And the part number on this for you DeLorean guys out there with swaps is 260-15090. And it's the 0.70 bore. And you can see it's a little bit different setup than what I took off. Fitting style. Well, let me just throw it on the floor. Fine. Have to swap over this clevis from the old one to the new one, and I might have to trim that rod a little bit. And then this will bolt right in and my existing clutch lines will work. So away she goes. Sometimes you order the wrong parts. All right, while we're waiting on parts, I figured I'd show you. Look at that throttle. I mean, it just sticks out way too far. So, problem being, this is a Focus ST throttle pedal, and they are not, they're plastic, potentiometers built into them. Good news is they're cheap. You can get these all day for 30, 40 bucks. So my plan is I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to try to chop 6 inches of plastic out of it and plastic weld it back together. I don't know if it'll work. Worst case Ontario, if the pedal breaks off, I can just push on the nub with my foot until I get a better solution. All right, check it out. So I've taken the throttle and I've cut about that much off of it, sanded each surface, and basically made it so it's gonna look like that. A little stubby throttle, perfect for the DeLorean. You can see it's still got full travel. And I've got some JB Weld plastic welder here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to coat this in plastic welder. It sets at about 15 minutes, cures in 30. And then once that's holding itself, I'm going to basically, I've got a plastic welder, and I'm going to use some plastic welder staples to reinforce the side. And I'm hoping that since this glue joint is supported fully when you press it, that's going to be strong enough. So this is my first time using a plastic welder. I just got this off Amazon. Came with all these staples, and I use this one that looks like a wave staple. And it's pretty simple. You just put them in the end of the gun here, and you pull the trigger, and it gets hot instantly like a hot glue gun. It does not look pretty. But I basically put 1, 2, 3, 4 here, one on the end. It looks real ugly on this side because it's hollow. But I tell you what, like that plastic bond that the epoxy I put underneath that isn't even dry yet, and I can, you know, it's already plenty strong to use. And then when you face it this way, I even angled it a little bit towards the driver. You can't see any of that stuff. So, I mean, I'd call that a success. It's not the prettiest thing, but it's strong. And I think when that epoxy sets in 30 minutes that, you know, it's gonna be good to go. Oh yeah, check that out, man. It's perfect. Oh yeah, look at that. My knee clears the keypad. Perfect heel to toe. I don't have to lift my foot at all. It was just making the car absolutely not fun to drive for me. And then my brother came down for Thanksgiving last year and drove the car, and he was like, dude, you gotta change that throttle. And I was just like, okay, I gotta do it. But man, single greatest improvement to the car, I think. And then when that clutch goes in, the clutch master goes in and just lightens the throw a little bit, this thing's gonna be a joy to drive. So let's get off. Okay, I'm out. I love this part. It's my favorite part right here. Throttle pedal knocked off the list. One of the 3 things I have to get done. I think I'm gonna call it for today. I'll be back tomorrow. Hey, we're back. Good news. I started troubleshooting the brake lights, and yeah, my brake lights work. So that little switch right there, if you can see up in there, I think it was just, you know, from the 2 years the car was sitting while I was building it, it just got a little bit corrosion in it. I worked the switch back and forth and my brake lights work. So I decided to go through all the lights just to make sure everything's working, and I discovered that I didn't have a right turn signal. Swap bulbs and it works, so that turn signal bulb's bad, it's too easy, I'll order a new one. And all the outside lights work, except I don't have any brights. And this is one of those things when you build a car over a couple of years, it's easy to forget, but I had removed the bright fuse right there to remind myself that the electrical spade was bad and the wires pulled out of it. And I actually have the bright wire pulled out and with a piece of heat shrink on it, so that's super easy. I got to order some spades and solder a new one on the end of that, stick it in the fuse block, put the fuse in there, and bright's fixed. So fixed one problem and found a couple more. But the reality is I was worried about the brake lights because I basically rewired this whole car with my own setup, and it's not wired factory at all. So I was worried I made a major mistake, and it turns out it was fine. So that's good. Throttle's done, brake lights are done. I'll order a new turn signal. That's literally one wire and a spade. So lights are fixed. So once I get the fitting in for the clutch, I've already done my 3 major things I wanted to get done. But I did go get these fiberglass air dams. They fit terrible. They're aftermarket repros, and they don't fit well, but they fit like crap. So anyhow, I am not putting them on because my car doesn't need it. They fit so bad, I don't think they really do anything but trap heat anyway. And my car tends to run cool. I'm not running them. All right, so my lower splitter is attached to all new stainless hardware, and we can call that another job done. Where's it at on the list? Front air dam plugs. Not sure why I call them plugs, but either way, struck. Yeah, I did repair the door panels and convert them to magnets. I've found that the magnets work good. I got this trick from some other DeLorean owners, and there was some fractures in plastic I fixed. This rearmost fir tree needs to stay though, because I find that it's not strong enough to have a magnet here. All right, I got the engine cover off. I went ahead and pulled the number 1, and just as I expected, it's covered pretty decent in soot. I mean, a lot of test runs, a lot of idling, a lot of dyno pulls, breaking in the engine. So I'm gonna go ahead and swap these out. I actually kept the plugs out of the last engine that was bad because they didn't really have any runtime on them. So I'm gonna swap those in. Where did I put them? Over here in the DeLorean pile. I got parts all over the place back here. Okay, yeah, these are Denso's ITV 245341. But I pulled these out of that other motor because I didn't really run the motor, and I got a little bit of soot on them, but yeah, that's much better. So I think I'm gonna swap these girls back in there since these aren't cheap. I want to say these are like 60 bucks for a pack. Well, this is why you change your plugs after a dyno session with tuning. Good news is they're all the same. The motor's burning uniform. Was running rich. She's got a good tune in her now, but you gotta remember, I drove this car with these plugs when it wasn't tuned well, and I did all those test sessions. So save these old plugs. You can see they're basically brand new. I'm gonna throw those in, and we're cooking with grease. Boom, spark plugs changed. That wasn't even a required item. It's on my optional list. What did I do with my marker? There it is. Okay. Spark plugs. Boom. I checked the oil. It's definitely already been changed. It's pretty fresh. I need to add a little bit, just a hair low. So I'm going to just get rid of oil change. All right, next thing checked off the list. Both my bulkhead fittings were loose. This car vibrates a lot. The motor's basically hard mounted. And anytime you build something brand new, you got to go back and check things. Things loosen up. So anyhow, that was an important one. Loose bulkhead connections fixed. Well, I think it's about dinner time. So, and we're back. I got a few things done I got to catch you guys up on. So first, I had to take a break to make some chicken feeders for my wife. But I don't know if she realizes that her design is basically a potato launcher. I might steal one of these. Yeah, but anyhow, I got a couple of things done that weren't important, but they're gonna make things a lot nicer. First, check it out. Cup holders. Yes, these are out of like a 90s Audi, I think. Hidden. I had to trim a little bit of the Back to the Future wires, but still kept the basic look. And then I went ahead and drew up a panel in CAD, sent it off to Send Cut Send, and then drilled it. and I deleted the charcoal canister hole that was bothering me. I originally was going to put an air intake in here. I kind of like the simplicity of just the old filter on the turbo, you know. I didn't fiberglass this in with my brother because I still want access in here. I've got wires coming to like my camera in the back, and it's just a convenient, like I want access to this pontoon. So I've seen other guys do this. It's not really a secret. There's a lot of guys that have done it this way. I think it looks good. I'm gonna leave it that way, and then later on I might add a hole there and run an intake in, but I kind of like the way it is for now. So but just cleaned up the back significantly without this big hole here. And there's still a hole over here, but I route my coolant overflow line through there, and same thing, I don't want to block off access to that pontoon. So anyway, now I was gonna do the master cylinder, but I ordered the wrong fittings again. Sometimes the simplest things just take forever. I'm an idiot. But so now what are we gonna do? I got most of the interior in here now because, you know, the kids love the Back to the Future stuff, and when I say kids, it's adults my age that grew up with this movie. But I honestly do leave it in there for kids at car shows, and really they're like the only people I even let sit in the car anymore, take pictures and stuff. But I got to get all that stuff back in, and it's starting out with really nice black rear sail panels basically that cover the speakers. Those are going to go in first. I've ordered some noise proof foam. It's not noise proof, but it's designed to block sound. And one of the things that I didn't like about this setup was these cars are just loud in the back. And I had put a bunch of like kill mat on the back of it, but all that really did was keep this big steel panel from resonating. So now I'm going to put some soundproof foam mat on the back of it. Hopefully quiet things down in here. It's still going to be a loud car. I mean, it's an EcoBoost with a straight exhaust, but just I want to quiet it down a little bit in the back. So I'm waiting on that to come in. I've got some foam adhesives, some Super 74 from 3M, and I've got some Super 77 from 3M to bond that vinyl to this door frame. But for now, I'm going to fix the turn signal problem. My turn signal bulbs showed up, and I get them from Super Bright LEDs. They're way cheaper than some of the vendors out there for DeLorean stuff. The turn signal bulbs are 1156-A18-T, if you can. And I order them in pairs because if a bulb's gone out, usually the other one's not far behind it. So I always replace bulbs in pairs. That's just my technique. So I'm going to get these in, and then we'll see if my tail lights and brake lights and turn signals are fixed for once. I got the lights replaced now. Fingers crossed that I've got brake lights, turn signals, running lights. See, and my rear brake light issue is fixed. Lights on. Turn my hazards on. Oh yeah, I got left and right. I got running lights. Now let's turn the hazards off. Let's try the turn signals. Left, good. Right, good. Let's try the brakes. Oh, yep. We have got our situation fixed. Winning. Taillights are fixed. The only thing left for lights is the brights, and I'm waiting on some fuse pins to come in. So, cup holder's done. The delete panel's done. So new amber turn signals are done. And just waiting on high beams. So once we get the high beams done and we get the clutch master back in, car's ready to road trip. Everything else here is bonus. The next thing I'm going to do that really drives me nuts, believe it or not, these DeLoreans were built so good they came with plastic door handles. Now these will break eventually. The driver's side broke like as soon as I got the car, and I replaced it with metal. I have a metal one for this side, and you guessed it, I'm not replacing it until it breaks, but it's a pain. After my brother and I dropped the body back on the car, the doors, you know, these fiberglass bodies, they twist and tweak and blah, 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 but one of the things that drives me nuts is there's not enough travel on this door handle to release the hinges, so sometimes the door won't open from the outside, and I have to climb through the inside and pull the inside door handle to get the door open. Now, what happens is, let's see if you can get some light here. So, you see here, when I pull the inside handle, it releases both locks. That's a lock on the front of the door, and then you can see the rod going to the back of the door. The door has 2 hinges. It goes to that and to that. The thing is when I open the inside and release, that front hinge goes all the way back. But when I open the outside, it only pulls it like that far, and then it doesn't have enough spring tension to release it back all the way. So it's a double problem, because I can't open the door from the outside, and then if I do open the door from the outside, the front latch doesn't latch. And if you own a DeLorean, door adjustments are the bane of your existence, I guarantee it. But what I'm gonna do first is tighten up this cable here for the outer door latch so that I can open the car from the outside. And then if that doesn't give enough travel going this way, I'm gonna have to make a couple rod adjustments on the hinges. All right, so I've spent like an hour adjusting hinges, adjusting linkages, and it's not quite fixed, but it's good enough, and I'll explain in a second. My pants are falling down. Okay, so it takes a lot of work to get the door to close evenly and the latch on the front and the back. And now I can open it from the outside. Here's the problem though. The original door cable, the cable that goes to the handle out here, is so corroded that it doesn't spring back. So watch, if I push this bar back where it's supposed to be and I use the inside handle, the inside door handle has a heavy spring on it, right? So I let go of it and it goes back. So if I open the door using the inside handle, okay, so the door closes, it latches, right? I open the door using the inside handle, I get enough pull on the front and the rear hinge that it opens right up like a Cadillac. Okay, the problem is, if I do that with the outside handle, yeah, there we go, it's latched on the front and the back. Now if I open it from the outside, not nearly as smooth because of the way I have to adjust it. Now if I close it again, I don't have enough cable length on the, basically the outside handle didn't release the cable enough for the rod to go far enough to latch the front, okay? So I open this back up. Now here's the issue with these adjustments. So to fix this right, I need to replace this cable. Probably not gonna do that before this road trip. I will eventually. You can see my mark here. It used to face there, and now it faces about a 1/4 inch back. And so I kind of adjusted this in a way to make the existing parts work. I've got just enough travel to latch the front, and I've got plenty of travel to latch the rear. I might add a little carburetor spring here to the door to kind of help, because again, if you watch this, it goes back. But if I open the outside, watch, it does not go back. And then ultimately the solution would be buy a new cable. Now, with a new cable, I'll bring this bar all the way forward, because then it's not so sensitive at latching the front. And if the cable works properly, then I can make those adjustments. But since this cable's not working properly, I had to kind of make adjustments to a happy median. Put a new cable in here, I'll bring this back to where it faces here, so I'm latching front and rear easily. And then the cable won't be corroded inside, and it'll move freely, and it'll allow this to come back. So now you can see one of the joys of owning a DeLorean. Even though I've replaced failing areas of these cars, I mean, the brake system is completely custom. The entire drivetrain, I rewired the whole car. I got rid of all of the unreliable traits, but you can't do anything about the body. And the doors are just, anybody that owns a DeLorean, especially an early car like this one. This car here, these late VINs, these 10,000 series VINs, man, the doors are like butter on these things because they figured it out. The quality of the the alignment and the build quality of the fiberglass and the tolerances were just better. This is one of the last early cars, and the doors were just garbage. It's one of the reasons that when they first got to the country, that the quality control POG guys had to deal with, is adjusting these doors to make them at least work. So for now, we're gonna call that fixed, even though I have to replace that door handle and cable. I can open the door from the outside and the inside, and it latches. So we're gonna call that fixed. Well, you know what they say, at first you don't succeed, try again. So I just got done filming that last clip for you guys, and I was gonna walk out, and I'm like, man, I don't like the way that door looks. It's bothering me, I can do better. So I spent another hour on it, and it's better. I got the gap on the fender to the door much nicer. And the door actually opens and closes a lot better now. You can actually, if I go slow, you can watch the front hinge release, and you can hear it. And I made some pretty major adjustments here on the door hinges. Basically brought the whole door into the car. And I still need to fix this throttle cable, or door handle cable, but I mean, come down, both sides positively latch, and you know, for an early door car, that's a pretty good fitment. Now you can see both doors are kind of tilted down in the front a little bit. I repaired this roof box when I first got the car, and that's just how the doors have sat, and I fixed it in place. Eventually I'll replace the roof box and try to make them better, but these early doors, that's just how they fit. And man, when you open the door with this inside door handle with the strong spring on it, I mean, the door just opens so much better than it did before. So I'm pretty happy with that. Put a new cable in there, add a little spring, and it opens up easily. I don't even got to pull too hard on the door. And you can hear the hinges kind of rubbing a little bit, but unfortunately with these early cars, you got to play the game of getting it as good as you can get it, you know. Here's a later car, and you can see there's still a little drag on that, but I mean, that door closes beautifully. And my driver's door is really nice, but you can still hear both hinges kind of catch a little bit, and that's because that roof box is tilted forward just slightly. But yeah, I think, like I said, eventually I'll just replace this. You can see this door handle is just, it's gonna go sooner or later. But she opens once I get that new cable, and I still think I'm gonna add a spring here. I might do that on both doors, just my own little personal DeLorean improvement idea. But super happy with that. I mean, that's probably as good as this door has ever been. I don't think I can get it any better, to be honest with you. So there's a lesson for you, kids. Sometimes you just gotta walk away. Other times you already know you're not happy. Don't walk away, do it again. So man, happy Jimmy. I think I'm gonna go have lunch, maybe watch some TV with the wife. And we're back. All right, so today I went ahead and started putting the rear speaker cover panels in, whatever the heck they're called. My old ones were pretty well beat up. I scored a set of these. They weren't cheap, but they're a big part of the interior. They're a big part of what makes a DeLorean, and they cover up a lot of the ugly stuff in the back. And even though when I have my time machine stuff back here, you can't see anything past here, but it's what makes these doors seamless, right? So the only problem that's gonna be hard is this vinyl's 40 years old, so I'm hoping I can heat it up enough to get it soft without burning it. And then I'll use some clamps to get it glued. This vinyl is supposed to glue to the fiberglass pontoon, and then the door seal goes over top of it. It's not gonna be the end of the world if it doesn't work, but working on that. So yesterday I was working on the door, all that stuff I showed you guys. It just got me fired up about these doors. And while I was working on it, One of the things that's always annoyed me about this car is the window chatters off the door. Well, it's pretty easy to replace the seals, and I just never have. So I've got this out, which is what holds the window from not scraping on the glass or on the door. And it's two pieces here. You have a rubber piece that goes on the inside of the door, and then you have a brand new seal that keeps the water out. It's got felt on the inside of it that goes on the outside of the door. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these in, and that'll fix my rattling window problem. You can see a lot of this video, a lot of these upgrades are just about really just putting the interior back together and improving life inside the car. So I've got a new weather strip on. You can see it just pushes in. There's 3 holes. It came too short, of course, because why would anything ever come the right length? But for the most part, it covers the window. This car doesn't really see rain anyway, I don't care. But I did get a new rub strip on the inside as well. See, it's got a felt lining. So between this and that should fix my window. I'm gonna go ahead and bolt this in. It's just held in by like 10 sheet metal screws. You can see, it just bolts in, pretty simple. I don't think I'm gonna have any more window rattling. Let's check it out. Nice. Yes. Here you can see, got a new outer rubber here, and just, this is the crap that makes me mad about buying parts. Look at that gap. There's a gap there and a gap there. But I mean, ultimately I put this in. The old one was so beat up and corroded and broken that it was basically missing completely, and this window would just go going down the road. So fixed, another win. I went full ham with this door. I've got it all taken apart because I'm sick of this being loose. I'm gonna replace all the fir trees. I've also ordered a new cable and a handle for the problems I already told you guys about earlier. So when I put this door back together, it's gonna be much more better. Good morning, Vietnam. Well, I have been busy and the shop is trashed. But I got the whole exhaust, everything done on this girl just to figure out that the stock crossover pipe that goes behind the motor's got a bunch of pinholes in it and leaks. So I got a new crossover pipe coming for that, and then that thing will be done. But in my spare time for working on that, I did some more stuff to the car. I got the rear speaker panels in. Now they need to be glued. This is an excess vinyl they come with. It gets wrapped around the fiberglass pontoon, glued, and then the seals go over top of that. I disassembled the door and got the stock, let me see here, the stock handle I was telling you guys about and the cable out. And you can see this cable, it's been pinched and kinked and it just doesn't work well, even outside the door. And here you can see the plastic handle. They were made to go on both sides. So one handle works for either door, but there's a little spring inside of it. It's just shot. So waiting on the new handle and cable, still hasn't showed up. I did take this lower trim out. I replaced all the fir trees and tightened everything. So this is nice and tight to the door now. And I readjusted the hinges for the new door handle once it gets here. So this door is well on its way to being happy again. And then you see all this stuff on the floor. This stuff is made by Second Skin, and it's called Luxury Liner Pro, and it's awesome. It's a really dense foam with a layer of butyl mat on top of it, and it's meant to be a sound barrier. And so I figured, since I'm gonna have that big rear bulkhead made out of aluminum in the car, I might as well use it to be a sound barrier. Now, I'm not trying to make this car quiet by any means. It's got a straight exhaust, but you know, some soundproofing behind this metal cuts down on rattles. A little bit of less drone behind my head. It'll maybe be able to talk to the passenger. I doubled it up on the main side here, but this stuff is heavy. So I doubled it up on this side because this piece is kind of a permanent fixture once I put it in the car. But this I need to be able to take out to access fuses and stuff. So I put one layer on there, and then I also did a whole layer on the back wall of the car. And you can really tell, I mean, it does help quite a bit. So I think it's gonna be good to just making the car feel more solid. It'll be a lot quieter behind my head, and it'll be easier to talk to the passenger. And then I also did some safety stuff. I added an extra hood cable latch so I can open the hood. This is something that every classic car owner needs to have, especially DeLoreans, because I mean, well, we lose a couple cars a year to fuel fires, and it's usually old original fuel lines or improperly installed fuel lines. And once the fiberglass catches on fire in these things, it usually means they're gone. So I went, my buddy Carl bought this H3R Performance fire extinguisher for me as a gift, and these are meant specifically for cars. And then I went ahead and got a quick release, aviation style, and so this pulls right out, and I basically put 8 riv nuts into the fiberglass here. It's super strong, and that enables me to take this out easily, but it's securely mounted to the car. This isn't going to roll around, it's not going to dent the hood, it's not going anywhere. And if I have to get it out in a hurry, I love this aviation style quick release. So lots of little things got done, lots of little things. And so now we're going to move on to the clutch, which I'll tell you, this is going to be the second time I've installed this clutch master in the car, because all those fittings I ordered the second time, I was tired and I basically had the lines reversed. So I had my output going into the reservoir and I had the input going into the output. You start making mistakes like that, it's just time to go to bed, reset, and then redo whatever you did the next day. So I got new fittings here. This is the inlet, this is the outlet. Inlet's AN3, the outlet's AN4. Because of my Tesla iBooster, I've got a little bit different than what a stock DeLorean owner would have. Well, basically I have a 90 coming off here that's going to drop down to the AN4 clutch line and clear the steering linkage, and then this is going to go up to the stock DeLorean clutch reservoir. You know, a lot of DeLorean guys hate time machines. Man, I look like an old college English professor or something. I need to clean myself up. Anyhow, a lot of DeLorean guys hate time machines and Back to the Future, and I understand why. They're the purists for the car. Me, myself, I wouldn't have this car without the movie. Loved it as a kid, love it now, and I'm excited to share that with my daughter and other kids. I think everybody else just grumps. So check it out. Here's what it's all about. I got the EcoBoost back to her time machine roots. I got my door buzzers working, and see 88 in there. I got my low plutonium switch going here, and my radioactive gauges, percent power. I love this stuff. I'm a nerd. But yeah, now she's back to being my car. And I got a lot of little stuff left to do for time machine stuff. I'd like to put more lights back here. Just kids at shows, they love seeing the lights, especially at night. I got to put the upper console up here with all the switches and stuff on it. And once the car's done, I can start doing the rest of that kind of stuff. But I like to think of this car as what Doc Brown would have built if he built it in 2023. Got the analog boost gauge, lights up on top of the stack, because I feel like he would have just thrown the boost gauge right there. And I don't know, I love it. Well, the clutch is just kicking my butt, man. That's a whole thing. I'll finish it tomorrow. I'm just not in the mood today. But I think it's time that we revisit the board and see what all has been done here. So, clutch, nope. Interior panels were about 50% there. Alignment, no. Battery kill switch, nope. High beam, still waiting on parts. I did check the sway bar, I'm going to check it again once I have some weight on it. Aux brake power, haven't done that. Concourse mirrors, concave mirrors, haven't done that. Back to the Future stuff is back in. And so that's all we did. But I'm going to keep going. We don't have too many things to do, just a lot of little things. I mean, realistically, the car can drive as is right now. So next thing I need to do, really, I need to get these door panels glued in so that I can close the doors again. All right, so I want to show you, you owners out there that have DeLoreans, or if people are just curious, the factory, these panels come with vinyl on them, and they wrap around the fiberglass tub and they get glued in. So if you got to change your speakers, don't go crazy with these, don't cut them. I just want to show you, see how it doesn't flex at all? Take a heat gun, put it on low, keep the gun moving, and you'll start to just put a little heat to it. If I could operate this damn gun, if you put just a little heat to it, look at it, it becomes completely pliable. So when you got to take your speaker panels out, just gently apply heat and start lifting, this will come up. You're probably still going to crack some. I mean, it's old vinyl, but it's not that hard. Just take your time. Well, here's some progress. So keep working the vinyl with the heat until you can wrap it around with your fingers and it starts to get tacky. Use some clamps to hold it till it gets to that point, and then start using I'm using the door seal itself to lock it in place, with my goal being, once I get this worked all the way up, to close the door and let it sit overnight. So it's not going to be perfect, but I mean, look at that seam. That's all you're really going for. And you're going to have a bunch of adhesive that drips down. You can clean with some acetone, and you can see some extra vinyl that's going to be hanging down to the bottom. You can come back and trim that later. Just get everything glued up. All right, there you have it. So I've got the door, the top trim back on. And I use the fir tree in that back corner. It's magnets all the way across. They're not super strong. But you can see that rear panel, and I'm using the door to hold pressure against the seal. Let that sit overnight, and that's as good as it's gonna get. It's not perfect. They weren't perfect when they were new, so I'm happy with that. I have a complete left side now. So really, I'm just gonna repeat that on this side, but I'm honestly not gonna bother with it today because I'm still waiting on the door handle and stuff, and I don't wanna do this until this door is ready to close. So as far as you guys are concerned, I think that's it. The rest of the little things I have left here are not really video worthy. I think you've heard me talk about the clutch enough. So next time you'll see this car be on a road trip in about 2 weeks, and I'll let you know how the clutch and the throttle and everything else is, because I'm going to bring the camera with me. There's going to be a lot of cool people, a whole bunch of DeLoreans, some faces you all recognize, and I'll have a surprise guest with me as well. So thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time on Time with Steel. And oh, if you like this content, even if you don't, or if you know somebody who might, please share it and hit that like and subscribe button. I really appreciate it. There she is. Almost road trip ready. We'll see you next time.